The opening scene of the film showcases a stunning young lady named Ran. She takes her time to carefully apply sunscreen all over her body, ensuring she is well protected from the harsh effects of the sun. This is crucial for her as she goes about her daily activities, and she takes every precaution to stay safe. Ran is the proud owner of a beauty salon, which she operates from a rented store. She works hard to make a living and is driven to succeed. The money she earns from her business is used to pay the rent for her shop, and she is proud of what she has accomplished. Behind her store, there is a hidden room that can only be accessed through the closet. This secret space is where Ran keeps all of her sunscreen and animal blood. This may seem strange to some, but it is a necessary part of her life. The animal blood is a source of food for Ran, and she takes what she needs from this room. Ran prepares herself to venture outside, and she does so with complete protection from the sun. She arrives at a nearby meat store where she orders her regular meal. Despite the unusual nature of her diet, Ran is a kind and gentle soul, and she lives her life in her own unique way. Ran is an elderly vampire who has an unusual dietary habit. She no longer drinks human blood and instead relies on coupons to purchase animal blood for her consumption. Despite her regular visits to the shop, the owner has noticed a change in her appearance and worries about her health. The owner kindly offers her more meat without realizing that she is a vampire who only drinks blood from animals. After returning home, the vampire prepares her dinner and gives the leftover meat to a nearby cat. Suddenly, a gust of wind blows open the front door, prompting her to investigate. As she steps out of her secret room, she sees a plump lady who introduces herself as the new landlady. However, before she can react, the landlady disappears, leaving a note stating a 30,001 increase in rent. The vampire is frustrated by this sudden increase in expenses and wonders how she will manage to pay the rent. After the vampire's rent increases, she decides to take action and advertises her beauty salon by distributing flyers. During her rounds, she comes across a male beautician who seems more professional than her. They both approach the same lady, and a fight breaks out between them. Despite facing a tough opponent, the vampire ultimately emerges victorious. Unfortunately, the lady ignores her and leaves without any interest in her salon. Feeling dejected, the vampire apologizes to the male beautician for their earlier altercation. However, during their conversation, she notices a bill of 50,001 lying on the pavement. As the vampire chases after the bill, she realizes it's only a flyer. Feeling frustrated, she reveals her true identity as a 500-year-old vampire and recounts how she has managed to survive in the ever-changing human world. She admits that despite living for centuries, she has been unable to save any money, leaving her in a state of constant financial struggle. As the day wears on, the vampire wearily walks towards her shop, feeling exhausted. Along the way, she crosses paths with a young boy named Lee So-yoon. After they pass each other, she suddenly catches a familiar scent and turns to look at him. So-yoon has only been in the United States for 6 months but smiles warmly at her before continuing on his way. The following day, Ran sets up a menu board outside her salon, advertising discounts to attract new customers. As she prepares for the day ahead, she applies makeup while reminiscing about the past. The scent she picked up yesterday reminded her of Ginny, the person who taught her how to apply makeup. Suddenly, So-yoon arrives at her salon, seeking her services for an upcoming audition. Despite her efforts to resist the scent that drives her wild, Ran finds herself falling for him. To avoid losing control, she inserts a bead of cotton in her nose to block the scent. Instead, she focuses on her skills as a beautician and applies makeup to So-yoon with pride. After transforming So-yoon into a modern heartthrob, a bead falls from Ran's nose, causing her to lose control due to the scent. Suddenly, the landlady arrives and calls So-yoon her son, much to Ran's surprise. The landlady wants So-yoon to focus on the family real estate business, causing a heated argument to break out between her and Ran. Meanwhile, So-yoon sees an opportunity to escape the commotion and leaves for his audition. The landlady demands that Ran stop doing makeup for her son, but Ran refuses. So-yoon is still her customer, after all. After several discussions, they eventually reach a deal. In exchange for waiving rent, the landlady requests that Ran decline every time her son asks for makeup. However, she still asks for the makeup fee as So-yoon will need to pay for it. Ran continues her flyer distribution, and the lady at the meat shop calls her over to talk. They discuss the sudden increase in rent and how far they have come since they started the meat shop. The meat shop lady praises Ran, calling her the baby face of all baby faces and a source of pride for the town as she never seems to age. Despite the compliment, Ran feels lonely and disturbed by the fact that she can never die. She wonders how she will continue living in a world that constantly changes around her. As Ran heads home, she runs into So-yoon, who offers her the money he forgot to pay. He then confesses his feelings and tries to kiss her, but she refuses. However, So-yoon innocently continues to tempt her by pulling on her dress and kissing her, which she finds herself enjoying. This triggers a flashback of her conversation with Ginny about turning her into a vampire to be together forever, but she reveals that it could be fatal to her. As she snaps back to reality, Rand pushes So-yoon away, causing him to crash into the wall. She tells him that she promised his mother not to do his makeup and urges him not to return. After Rand pushes So-yoon away, she rushes inside and shuts the door. So-yoon starts banging on the door, claiming that she was about to kiss him. When she opens the door, she interrogates him, thinking that Ginny's soul is inside his body, but this turns out to be inaccurate. Frustrated and exhausted, she drops onto her bed, saying she has no more energy left. Suddenly, So-yoon's mother comes banging on the door, looking for him. Desperate for help, he asks Rand to help him hide from his mother. She takes him inside the secret room, and they both hide away from his mother. However, their hiding spot is almost discovered when the landlady barges in and starts searching the shop. She opens the closet and tries to find any opening to another compartment. Fortunately, she is interrupted by a call and leaves before she can discover their hiding place. The next day, Rand is preoccupied with thoughts of Ginny and how So-yoon might be related to him. When So-yoon visits her, she takes him to a hospital for a blood test to clarify her doubts. After the test, she asks the nurse for a sample of So-yoon's blood, but the nurse refuses. However, So-yoon offers to help with her treatment if she has a terminal illness. As they head back home, Rand starts to worry that she might have a terminal disease, which surprises So-yoon. She then starts asking him about his family tree and if he had any ancestors named Wunk. So-yoon is confused about her sudden interest in his family history. Rand begins to worry that Ginny may not be mentioned in the family tree and no one will understand her. Meanwhile, the landlady is scheming in a small room, trying to find ways to evict Rand. When she checks Rand's documents and sees that she was born in 1957, the landlady realizes something is fishy. How can Rand have such healthy skin if she was born so many years ago? The next day, Rand goes to watch So-yoon's audition and compare it to Ginny's acting. But to her disappointment, So-yoon's performance falls short of her expectations. She rushes out of the theater, feeling sorry for Ginny, saying it's the worst thing she's seen in her 500 years of life. While Rand is away, the landlady sneaks into her salon and discovers the hidden room behind the closet. She takes some cosmetics and animal blood bottles before leaving. Later, So-yoon meets Rand on her way back home and tells her about another audition he has tomorrow for a vampire role. They reach home, and So-yoon starts practicing his lines while Rand tries to help him out, but he doesn't do well. Hopelessly, she talks about Ginny and how her vampire nature has changed her forever, making her lonely for all eternity. So-yoon is moved by her words and promises to do his best. However, they soon find out that the audition is not for a vampire role but for a neighbor boy to the vampire. Meanwhile, the landlady begins to suspect Rand's true identity as a vampire and prepares an anti-vampire arsenal. After So-yoon delivers a powerful monologue, Rand is captivated and impulsively kisses him. Suddenly, she bites him and drinks his blood, causing him to faint. She immediately feels regret and thinks back to the painful memories of losing Ginny in the same way. The process of turning someone into a vampire by drinking their blood is risky and could cause the human to die during the transition. Rand rushes So-yoon to the hospital, forgetting to protect herself from the sun. She endures the burning sensation as she tries her best to save him, but she eventually breaks down in the middle of the road and calls for help. The meat shop owner sees Rand carrying So-yoon and helps by placing him in a shopping cart and taking him to the hospital. Meanwhile, Rand is left burning on the road. Luckily, So-yoon survives and waits for her at her salon. After a long wait, he enters the store and they have a conversation. Rand apologizes for what happened and opens up about her life. As they talk, Rand shares more about her past, including her struggles with being a vampire and the loneliness that comes with it. So-yoon listens intently and they start to develop a deeper connection. So-yoon is surprised to learn that there's a significant age gap of 480 years between him and Rand. She tells him that she's 499 years older than him. They change the subject and talk about positive things. Suddenly, the landlady barges in and starts ranting at So-yoon for being there. She then calls Rand and asks her to come over and prove to So-yoon that she's a vampire. Rand refuses and starts packing her things. So-yoon pleads with his mother not to throw Rand out, explaining that being a vampire is a lonely existence without someone to talk to. He takes Rand's hand and begs her not to leave. In a flashback, it's revealed that the landlady brought Rand into her home while she was burning in the sun. When Rand's skin revitalizes in the shade, the landlady realizes that Rand is a vampire. When Rand wakes up, the landlady tells her that she's always dreamed of becoming a vampire. In the present day, the landlady pleads with Rand to turn her into a vampire. Rand explains the risks involved, including the possibility of harming loved ones. However, the landlady insists that being human is unfortunate. As So-yoon prepares to depart, he takes a final shot at convincing Rand to acknowledge his affection for her. She rebuffs him, claiming that thinking about Ginny is too painful. However, he reminds her that even when his mother found out about her true identity, she chose to stay because of her love for him. but Ran is still unconvinced and insists that she's only staying because of the rent and deposits. Ran then hands So-yoon the remaining ashes of Jinny that she possesses, a heartbreaking reminder of the tragedy that has befallen them. So-yoon promises to always be there for her, and this seems to reassure Ran. She expresses her gratitude, knowing that he won't abandon her like everyone else. The following day, Ran contemplates the ever-changing nature of the human world. She realizes that there are still many mysteries and uncertainties that she has yet to comprehend. So-yoon puts his charm and good looks to use as he hands out flyers for Ran's salon to girls passing by. Ran becomes jealous and quickly grabs So-yoon's hand, pulling him away from the girls. They later decide to have dinner at Ran's house. When she returns home, Ran detects the scent of her landlady, realizing that she had recently been there. Later, Ran gives a hairpin as a gift to a woman who works at a butcher shop. While So-yoon is outside, a girl named Jinny inquires about Ran's whereabouts, but unfortunately, Ran has already left the shop, and they miss each other once again. The moral lesson from this drama is to always protect yourself, even if you're a vampire, and to be prepared for unexpected challenges. Sunscreen is important, and being cautious can help prevent you from being caught off guard.